Alice! Alice! Alice!
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Constellation Episode 7 recap with the biggest twist and ending explained. Apple TV Plus discovers the height of fear, and the walls between realities begin to crumble. Through the Looking Glass is an Alice-themed episode that feels like a misplaced epilogue. Warning, there's a huge spoiler ahead, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. The big picture of the video. In the most recent episode of Constellation, Jo is presented with a heartbreaking decision between her two girls in a dramatic and poignant scene. The episode suffers from repetition and a lack of development, and it feels like an unneeded epilogue. While the Coleman twins do an excellent job of depicting dread, their constraints have an impact on the episode's quality. In Through the Looking Glass, the 8th episode of Apple TV Plus Constellation, the parallel version of Magnus exclaims, "Oh, Christ, not again," when he notices Alice has again left the cabin to hunt for Jo in the snow. Unbeknownst to him, Magnus sums up our feelings while viewing the most recent installment in a sequence of episodes that appear to have already told their narrative. Through the Looking Glass is full of tiny twists and turns, especially in how it depicts the entire Erickson-Taylor family drama unfolding in 2 or 3 versions of the same cabin. However, its meandering plot doesn't help us shed the sensation that we've seen it all before. From the opening moments of Jo discovering her true daughter in the woods to Paul always wailing for his child, no matter what world he is in. By the end of the episode, just one turn of events appears to be relevant, and it has little to do with the major storyline. Through the Looking Glass, as the title suggests, focuses on Alice. Throughout the episode, both versions of Jo's daughter interact with one another and learn what happened to their mother on the other side of the veil. This may be an entertaining watch, but there are several issues with making Alice the focus of the program. First and foremost, she adds little to the story's general stakes, which are already unclear to viewers. Then there's the reality that Alice isn't particularly well written. In Through the Looking Glass, Magnus admits that his daughter is 10 years old, although Peter Harness' writing makes her appear to be anything between 6 and 12 years old. Rosie and Davina Coleman's shortcomings as performers exacerbate the entire situation. It feels horrible to criticize the performance of 2 prepubescent children, but the creators of Constellation should have recognized their limitations before entrusting them with an entire episode. After all, they're not horrible. They have room for improvement, but they can't sell many emotions other than dread. Furthermore, they appear to have been coached to act like a caricature of a child rather than a real youngster, complete with exaggerated puppy eyes and repeated screams of "Mama Mummy." Constellation Episode 7, both Alices are absolutely terrified. Fortunately, Through the Looking Glass has the 2 Alices expressing nothing but terror, and this is where the Coleman twins excel. When their characters are terrified, we realize that they have a lot of raw ability that can be developed into something wonderful as they get older. Both Alices are horrified because they are either coming to terms with the fact that their mother may not be their mother at all, or that they are seeing and even conversing with their deceased mother, who was allegedly abandoned to rot in space. Not to mention the moment when the 2 versions of the same girl discover each other's existence, confirming their darkest assumptions about what happened during this voyage. The plot revolves around the events seen in the premiere's flash forward, with Jo discovering Alice B, as we'll name her for convenience, in a dilapidated version of their cottage, trapped in a closet and freezing to death. She returns her real daughter to her version of the cabin and places her in a hot bath. However, as Alice A awakens, Alice B vanishes. She has returned to Magnus B's version of the cottage, whereas Magnus A is accompanied by Henry Jonathan Banks, Frederick Julian Lumen, and the Swedish police as he makes his way into the woods. Rapace and EP director Michelle McLaren also discuss realistic, life-size sets, collaborating with astronauts, filming in harsh environments, and more. This episode has a lot of individuals racing around, making it difficult to keep track of everything that happens. Magnus A pursues Alice A and Jo, while Magnus B chases Alice B. Jo continues to hunt for her daughter, appearing undecided about who she might be. Alices flee their different parents and eventually cross paths in the deserted cabin. Finally, Henry Caldera seeks out the cow and is greeted by his other self. Maybe it's best to focus on what's important here. The Cal, which Jo has brought into the woods with her, appears to have opened a doorway to a third dimension, in which our two known realities can coexist in the same location, though not always at the same time, as demonstrated by the appearance of a cat that is sometimes dead and sometimes living. This show is really doing an alternate universe's greatest hits, right? In this utterly damaged cabin, which is both Cabin A and Cabin B, as proven by the pictures on the walls, the two Alices speak with one another using the portable Fisher-Price recorder that Jo was using to listen to the tapes supplied to her by the Skagerrak researchers. Inside the wardrobe, the females can catch glances at each other through the looking glass. Through the looking glass forces Jo to choose between two versions of her daughter. Jo was able to see her real daughter in the mirror after discovering Alice hidden in the wardrobe of the dilapidated cabin. Indirectly, she sends messages to Alice B and says that she is unsure whether she will be able to return home. This engagement comes to a halt as the connection between the two cabins weakens and a fire in Cabin A begins to take its toll on Alice A. Meanwhile, Alice B is still freezing to death. Jo is forced to make a decision and runs outdoors with Alice A in her arms. Magnus A. Frederick and the police are currently exploring the cold woods for Alice and Jo. Henry should be with them, but he hears the Cal calling out to him through Bud's voice and rushes to the cabin. Jo pushes Alice A into his arms and returns to the cabin to locate Alice B. This coincides with the moment Henry and Bud trade places, leaving Henry to deal with a critically injured Paul Lancaster, William Catlett, and Bud carrying a child he has never seen before. Bud, confused, drops Allison on the snow and goes a few steps before falling from the cold. She returns outside to discover Alice comatose in the cold after she is unable to locate Alice B inside the cabin. Alice B rushes towards her, and for a brief moment, the curtain between the two realities is so thin that Magnus B can see Jo. However, fearing that Alice would die if she was left to fend for herself, Jo encourages her daughter to go to her father in an emotional moment that succeeds in making us question if she will ever be reunited with her real family. Constellation has still not established its stakes. Jonathan Banks as Henry Caldera and William Catlett as Paul Lancaster argue in Constellation Episode 7. Image via Apple TV+. Through the Looking Glass concludes with Magnus B confused about what happened to his wife and Magnus, sitting by his daughter's side in a hospital, informing her that Jo has been sent to Arena Barbara Sukawa for aid. In Alice A's nightmares, the Valya attempts to persuade her to follow her to her mother, which is an evident symbol of death. Alice A, of course, refuses, and thus concludes another chapter in a dramatic, intimate story about astronauts forced to adjust to a life that isn't quite like the one they left behind. It appears that the story has already concluded and that no higher stakes have been presented. There is nothing wrong with adopting sci-fi themes to tell small-scale stories that function as metaphors for death and transformation. So far, Constellation has demonstrated exceptional performance in this regard. However, the tale that the show appears to be conveying appears to have concluded with last week's Paul episode, with the two Alices reconnecting serving as nothing more than an overly extended epilogue. However, the series frequently implies a larger conspiracy aimed at preventing many astronauts from revealing the truth about parallel universes. Who is behind this conspiracy? Who gains from it? Does it extend to more than just Henry Caldera and Irina Lysenko? Viewers are offered no answers to these questions, making it difficult to maintain our interest. As it stands, Through the Looking Glass is a dragged-out postscriptum that, once again, fails to provide us with anything to hold on to. The best we can say is that it progresses the Henry Bud plot, but that appears to be a separate story, another chapter in an anthology, rather than part of whatever is going on in the universe. Okay, these universes. Thank you for watching, and do not forget to leave a comment below.